What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new, welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about 20 things that you need to know before you book your next hotel. For those of you who don't know, which I imagine a lot of you don't, I am a front desk agent at a hotel. So the information I'm giving you is tried and true, and it's something that I think will help better your travels when you decide to book hotels. I know that talking videos are long and for some people boring. So in the description bar below, I will have a list of topics that I'm talking about and where you can find, as far as, 1 minute, 30 seconds or whatever, that information. So if you want to check that for certain things, go for it. But if you want to be cool and hang out with me throughout this entire video, you can just keep on watching. So the first thing that I want to talk about is very important. It is to check all sources before you book your hotel. A lot of people like to use Expedia, Trivago, Hotels Tonight, hotels.com, so many different platforms, which is great. But in the meantime, they're forgetting to even call the hotel itself to say, hey, what's your rate and do you price match? That's something that is very important. Not all the time does the discounted sites have the best rate. Sometimes the hotel itself may have a better rate, especially if it's a situation where they thought they were going to sell out, but they aren't selling out, and they would be willing to adjust that rate for you to come in. Not all the time, but sometimes that does happen, so that's something to keep in mind. So the second thing that I want to talk to you guys about is calling ahead to confirm that amenities are open and ready, specifically pools. So for example, in Miami, their pool is open year-round, which makes sense because, it's hot all the time. But somewhere a little bit further north, where the temperatures do get a little bit colder, they may not have an indoor pool, and that means that they may not have access to that pool at all. So that's something that you do want to call and confirm and check on. The other thing that I would call and confirm to check on is shuttle runs. People are driving these buses and their schedules do change. So if it's a short-staffed hotel, they may not have a shuttle that's running, or they may not have a shuttle or person on call at that particular time. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you do want to call ahead if you have questions about if certain amenities are open or closed. All right. The third thing that I want to talk about is to check the age requirements. I'll give you guys a story. There was a lady who had her 16-year-old daughter who was on the road by herself traveling to Florida with her friends, and she thought that her daughter could check in, but her daughter was under the age of 21. As a front desk agent, I was not going to be okay with myself for not checking her in because she was by herself, she was alone, she was 16, and she was on the road with her friends, and they didn't at that point, wouldn't have had a place to stay. So I did tell mom, hey, I'm gonna make an exception this time. I did not tell my manager because I didn't want to get in trouble, for checking underage people into a hotel, but I didn't want to leave these girls stranded. I told her to call hotels first because not every hotel will be accepting. Not every front desk agent was gonna be as nice as I was to that girl about her being 16 years old with no parents on the road traveling to Florida. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind, especially if you're under the age of 21. Check the age requirements. Check those age requirements. All right, let's move on. Number 4 is credit card authorizations. So many times I have people who think that just because they booked a hotel with their card that someone else can check in, and that is not the case. If that person is not accompanied on that reservation and they are not paying for that reservation, then that card cannot be used. That's a crackdown a lot of hotels have because of the crazy identity crisis that people have been having with, stealing identity here, stealing identity there, and hotels don't want to be a target. So they do have to go above and beyond. If a card is on file, you do have to present that card with the ID, and that's for anybody. Even if you want to override it with another card, you have to present your card with your ID. So don't be offended when people ask for your credit card and ID. This is just a security measure that front desk agents do have to take. The other thing is that if, say for instance, you are not going to be at the hotel and you do need your card to be charged, call ahead of time and you can fax over a credit card authorization with a picture of your license and your credit card front and back, and that's just saying that, hey, I am paying for this and incidentals or whatever, and you can charge this card. So then the hotel has written proof that they can use that versus going out on a limb or arguing on the phone with somebody about why their phone or why their card can't be taken over the phone. That's another no-no. It has to be written documents. Okay? Okay. Number 5. Don't take offense to people saying that they need a credit card for incidentals. This is something that happens in hotels all over the world. They have to take a card for incidentals. And a lot of people think that they're being judged, like, oh, you think I'm gonna tear up the room or something? And it's not that. You know, it's young, old, you stay here every day, whatever, you never stayed here before. You have to put down a card for incidentals. And every price varies. So if you're curious to know how much incidentals are, just call and ask. A lot of the things that people have issues with is because they just didn't call and ask. For example, some hotels will be 25, some hotels will be 100, and that's something that I think financially you have to prepare for, because even though it's not taking the money, it's an authorization, it's just holding it, that is still your money being locked up in the system. And for some people, if they're not prepared for it, it can ruin a vacation. So just make sure that you are fully aware of how much incidentals are and that you don't take offense to the fact that they are mandatory. All right? Number 6, walk letters are a blessing in disguise. A lot of people don't even know what walk letters are, so I'll explain. A walk letter is when you're in a situation where you say you're a late check-in and the hotel is oversold. So it could be that there's an event in the area, it could be that there's a group in-house that took up all the rooms, or whatever the case may be. They can sometimes oversell the rooms on accident, or there was a miscommunication with the central reservations line. And that means that you as a late check-in, because hotels operate first come, first served, you may not have a room. So now what? When you put your credit card down and you make a reservation, you are supposed to be guaranteed a room. So if a hotel does not have a room for you, what they'll do is refund your money and then pay for you a hotel on their behalf as an apology that we don't have a room here for you. It is an inconvenience because you may have to relocate, but you just got a room for free. So that's something to keep in mind if you ever do get a walk letter. You just got a room for free. Next one is, if you travel for work, you should definitely sign up for the rewards programs a lot of various hotels have. The way that their programs work is that they have a lot of point systems. So the more you gain points, the more you can spend on a hotel room. So for an example, I know with IHG, some hotel rooms may be 15,000 points, and you might stay at a hotel like 3 or 4 times to gain that, and then you have a room for free. So a lot of people, what I see them do, especially for work, is if they have a company card, they're using that company card, of course, to pay for the rooms in real money. And then when they gain these points on their profiles, when they're off from work, they'll come back to town for a vacation and use those points as a free stay at a hotel. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You just work the system to benefit you in your favor. So that's something to think about if you do travel for work a lot. I mean, those can definitely pay off in the long run. And even if you don't travel for work, it's still something, if you stay at hotels a lot, that can pay off in the long run. So just keep that in mind and sign up for those programs. For my early birds who like to check in early, you can check in early to any hotel, but I would suggest calling ahead to say, hey, do you guys have your rooms available where you sold out the night before, just to try to gauge, you know, if it's something that you can actually do. Keep in mind that no one is responsible for, they don't have to give you a room before check-in. It's a courtesy that they're giving you. So just keep that in mind, and it is based on availability. So you may have to wait, but that's why I say call ahead, just so you can kind of gauge. You may be able to go to lunch or whatever the case may be, and then you can come back and get into your room. And for my people who like to check out late, make sure you tell the front desk. You can tell the housekeeper, but you can eliminate that initial disturbance if you were to let the front desk people know, and they communicate that on your behalf to the housekeeping department. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, some hotels actually do charge for late checkout, so that's just something to keep in mind as well. Some of them, most of them don't, but just in case, you want to check to see if that is a extra fee or not. Okay. The next one is, highest level of memberships does not mean that you are guaranteed everything. I cannot tell you how many people who are of a certain elite status within programs ask me to do things that are completely against policy. Why are you charging me incidentals? I'm a elite member or whatever. I should be able to just not have incidentals. I've stayed here plenty of times. And it's like, I understand that, and that's why I say don't take offense to incidentals, because it's not about if you stay here a lot or if you never stay here. It's just policy. Or I have people who try to get people to check in under a different credit card with no ID and this and that. Like, now we're talking almost borderline fraud. That stuff is not allowed. Spire Elite, Diamond Elite, Platinum Elite, doesn't matter. You can't do stuff like that. So just keep in mind that just because you are of a certain status, you are not guaranteed everything. So I would say read the programs to see what your status and your membership actually does allow and does not allow. Because asking a front desk agent to basically break policy, which could basically be against the law, is not cool. So just keep that in mind, okay? Okay, the next one is the more expensive does not mean inclusive. So what I mean by that is, a lot of people think that, oh, if I get the fancier hotel, I'm gonna get better this, better that, better this. You get better this, better that to a certain extent. You might get a better bed, a better bathroom, better amenities as far as bath products goes, but you are really paying for access. So an example would be, if you have a full service hotel that has room service, a bellhop, a spa, hair salon, nail salon, all these different things, you're gonna pay a lot of money for it because you're paying for access. But if you were to go to these restaurants, that is an additional bill that's not included. And if you were to go to the spa, same thing, that's an additional bill that's not included, which sucks because it's like, well, what was the point? But you're just paying for access. Location, 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 and real estate people preach all the time. That's the same process or idea that goes with hotels that have all these different in-house amenities that you can enjoy. But some of them, most of them do come with an extra cost. Versus a limited service hotel, which would come with a inclusive breakfast, but they have no room service, no bellhop. It's all, I'm checking you in, you're going to your room, you check out, and here's your breakfast and you're out of here. You know, that type of thing. So I think that's something to consider when you are booking your hotels. Think about what it is that you're paying for, and are you paying for amenities that you will use, or are you paying for amenities that you won't use? So just keep that in mind when you are making your reservations. Okay. Another thing to consider is that there are levels of hotels. So for example, you have your luxe hotels, you have your comfort hotels, you have your solid hotels, you have basic hotels, and some of these have limited service, some of them are full service. They come with different costs as far as amenities, which I kind of just talked about. But basically, that's something that you want to think about before you book. Do you need the fanciest hotel? Are you okay with the basic? And also think about your trip and what it is that you want to spend more of your money on. For me, it's always hands down, I want to spend more of my money on activities and food. I don't really care too much about the hotel room, just as long as it's clean and there's not a roach that's gonna like run across my bed. The rest of it, I don't care. It doesn't have to be featherless, doesn't have to be blah blah blah, but some people really do enjoy those types of amenities. If I was traveling by myself and it was just a treat for me to relax and get away and unwind, then yes, I would probably want to spend a little bit more on the hotel. But this is all about preference, and just keep in mind that there are levels to different hotels. Some of them top of the line, some of them about as basic as it's gonna get, some of them barely a hotel, honestly. I mean, you'll walk in there and be like, oh gosh, like, this is bad. So just keep that in mind when you are booking your hotels. There are different levels. Which level do you want to be on? And whichever level hotel you decide to choose, always tip housekeepers. I can recall, they work so hard, y'all. Like, they really, really do. As a front desk agent, I remember a day I was at work and we were completely sold out. We were short-staffed in housekeeping, and the ladies had gone home. They had been there from morning, sun up to sundown, and we were the only people left. And the rooms that we needed still were not done yet. I literally cleaned 2 rooms and was breaking a full-blown sweat. And I was also very grossed out by half of the things that I was seeing. Just old beer bottles and pizza boxes and sheets and it's a lot. And these ladies and guys are cleaning rooms like 20 to 30 a day. I mean, that is insane. insane crazy, and I only did 2 and I was breaking a full-blown sweat. They work so hard. Tip them, and if you can't tip them, then at least help them out and kind of put your stuff together, you know what I mean? Or, you know, strip the beds for them, or, you know, don't leave such a big mess. At least consolidate it all to one area so they're not finding stuff all over the place. Help out in any way that you can. These housekeepers are underappreciated and they work so hard. The next one is for you guys. I mean, take home the bath products that they give you. I literally have created an entire travel collection full of shampoos, soaps, conditioners, lotions, and they're all travel size. They don't smell bad, and it's for me to travel with. I mean, it's also saving me money in a way, but not really, because I paid for it anyway. So I take all that stuff home. I mean, you paid for it, take it home. Shower caps, all that good stuff. And if you decide maybe you want to rent out an Airbnb, you're not gonna get that probably. Some people are nice enough to have like a soap or something like that in there for you, but I mean, you'd be better off probably bringing some of those travel size things from hotels into the Airbnbs with you, especially if you're taking a plane to get to your house or whatever setup you rented from Airbnb. So that's just something to keep in mind. Take home the bath products, you paid for it. And take home the coffee, you paid for that too. Everything that is free is not always convenient. So that's just something that I think everyone should keep in mind. If you guys know the story that I'm about to talk about, thank you for watching my tips to save money while traveling video. You're awesome. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it after this one. But what I'm talking about is shuttles are not always the most convenient thing there, even though they are complimentary. What happens is, for example, Miami, when I stayed there, they had an airport shuttle and it came to pick us up from the airport. But the front desk agents kept saying it's on the hour every hour, not ever considering the traffic. So it really was past the hour almost every other hour kind of thing. I mean, the way that it was coming, it was like, do you wait an extra hour? Like, you kind of got to turn around, you're late for your next run type of thing. And unfortunately, the hotel that I was staying at, they marketed themselves as an airport hotel, but they were like 30 minutes away. And I mean, with traffic, that's gonna put you back even further. So that's just something to consider. I mean, you'll be like out there waiting and waiting and waiting. And then for some shuttles, they're like ripping and running and doing it. But it's hard to gauge a shuttle to a specific time. And then you can't really be upset that they may not be on time, because you're talking about traffic that's factoring in. You're talking about if a plane just landed, they're probably stuck way back there around the corner behind all the other shuttles that are trying to get through. So those are just some things to kind of keep in mind. And some shuttles don't go everywhere. For example, the hotel that I am currently at, we will take people within 3 miles of the hotel. But people always want us to take them to the airport. We're not marketed as an airport hotel. So that's something to keep in mind, and also research if that's a service that you do need. So shuttles are not always the most reliable thing in the world. Everything that's free is not always convenient. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, this next one I feel like is really important, because people do this a lot, where you're trying to travel with a group and you really only want one hotel room. You can't really do that. The max occupancy for a 2-queen room is 4 people. You can't really get to a point where you're trying to stuff like 6, 7, and 8 people there. If a hotel offers a 2-queen suite, then I would ask them what their max occupancy for is that. A lot of hotels don't have those, but just in case they do, that's something that you may want to ask about, or ask about adjoining rooms to see if that's something that they offer. But typically for 2 queens, you can't stuff more than 4 people in there, and asking for rollaways doesn't always work. For some people, they charge for rollaways, by the way, so just keep that in mind. And then for others, you still can't put a rollaway within a 2-queen room because of fire marshal rules. Most of them say like the room's already too cramped, you can't have an extra rollaway bed in there, it's just too much happening. No. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're traveling. If you're unsure of the occupancy, call and ask. Throughout this video, you guys are gonna hear me say call and ask a lot, so take a hint, call and ask. All right? And say for instance, they say our max occupancy for a 2-queen is 4. Your next step should be to ask yourself, do I want an Airbnb or do I want a hotel? And the way that I decipher between the two is if I'm traveling with a large group, automatically I'm going for the Airbnb. If I'm in a certain country, then I may want to ask myself, do I want to stay at a hotel or do I want to stay in an Airbnb? And it depends on where you are. For example, if I was in Paris, I would want a hotel. But if I were in Bali, I may want an Airbnb where you get a totally different experience, because I mean, they have Airbnbs that come with butlers and they're making breakfast for you. They're running bath waters with flowers. You probably have seen those on Instagram, which is super cool. So I think it just depends. You have to weigh your options. Is it cheaper to travel with a group in an Airbnb? Would it be better for me to just have a hotel that's gonna be cleaned every single day versus not being cleaned every day? Do you want an experience, or do you just want to be for sure that you're gonna be totally safe in the area that you're in? So those are just some things you should think about if you wanna decide between an Airbnb and booking a hotel. Okay. The next one I wanna talk about is do not disturb signs. If you have your do not disturb sign on your door, you forfeit housekeeping. By law, housekeepers cannot go into your room if you have a DND and you are a stay over reservation. So that is something to keep in mind. A lot of people get upset they have a DND and then they take it off like 12 o'clock or whatever. I mean, housekeepers have probably moved on by then. Some of them will come back and check it, but most times it's like a no, you're not getting it. And not every hotel has an evening housekeeper to do that. So your next option would be to request towels from downstairs, or the basic things that you may need more of. You can always ask for those. But as far as housekeeping, that's probably going to be a no-go for you. And some people don't like housekeepers in their rooms anyway. You know, they have like that thing about, I have valuables in here, I don't really want anybody else in the room type of deal. So just keep that in mind. If you have a D&D on your door, housekeepers by law are not allowed to come in, and you forfeit housekeeping probably for the night if there is no evening housekeeper on duty. The next one I want to talk about is family and friends discounts. So one of the things that I saw was tragic. A lady was using a family and friends, and she made a huge scene at the hotel. She didn't want to check out until about 5 p.m. and you can't do that without being charged an additional day. And she put up a big fight and was threatening to do all these crazy things and calling corporate and this and that, but she was just in complete violation of policy. If you are booking a hotel through a family and friends rate, keep in mind that someone's job is on the line based off of your behavior. And if they are nice enough to give you that option, respect it. And that's with any job that you can allow other people to use their discount, okay? And if you decide that you want a hotel that has an in-house restaurant, may I suggest that you use Yelp. In Yelp, these restaurants, I will be completely honest with you, the majority of the hotel restaurants that I have eaten at have not been great. They have been kind of horrendous. Lack of flavor, lack of this, like just not what's popping. So if you're curious about a certain hotel, and I haven't stayed at every hotel in the world, so that's what I'm saying, consult Yelp. I love Yelp. I respect other people's reviews, and if I see something continually like the food was bad, the food was bad, the food was bad, then the food is probably bad. Or if I see something like the price expensive, it's probably expensive, and I think it's very awkward to go and sit in a hotel and you get water and you going over the menu, you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, you know what? We're gonna leave. That's very awkward. So don't put yourselves in those kind of situations. Yelp review, Yelp. Okay? And lastly, be nice to your front desk agent. I think a lot of people post a lot of blame because they are the face of the hotel, pretty much. If something was to go wrong, say in an engineering department, most likely a front desk person is gonna take the blame for that. If something goes wrong in the housekeeping department, front desk agents are the ones being chewed out for it. So just keep in mind before you decide to get totally angry at a front desk agent that they are writing for you and they are going to do whatever it is that they can to rectify various situations. So you ever hear the expression, they're more inclined to do something for you when you're nice than when you're not. Just kind of keep that in mind. And some things are their fault. Still, be nice to them, just like you would a waiter or waitress in a restaurant. So, well, this brings me to the end of the video. Whew. If you made it from the beginning, congratulations to you. I hope the information was valuable. I hope you guys learned something new. I hope that your travels through hotels are going to be a lot smoother now. If they weren't before, you were wondering why. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these types of videos, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done that already. What are you waiting for? Subscribe. Okay? Okay. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye.